Okay, for those of you, sorry, for those of you who don't know in the chat, Team Melee, 2 players share a single base and pretty much 2 players control a single player, pretty much. So they share the minerals, they share the nexus, they share the units, the buildings, everything. There aren't 2 nexuses. There isn't a nexus per player at the beginning. So it's really interesting to watch players try to figure out what the hell is going on.
And me and Coffee used to be really, really good at this.
Oh yeah, we played a lot of these. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Coffee Break, and the ensuing confusion is brought to you by Amateur Attack, where I pull in 2 players from the audience and pit them against one another for my own sick entertainment. Co-casting with me here is going to be Sleeper Cells.
Indeed.
And I really hope that this map works, because a lot of the Team Melee maps in 2v2s, pardon me, oh, thank you, Freak Boy, I'm sorry. A lot of Team Melee maps in StarCraft 2, that's what I was going for, don't quite work properly, but I think this is probably going to be a better version, because they've gotten a little bit better. I try them out every few months. So, and every time they get a little bit better, and this is a very new one, obviously, well, a newer one, because this is Metropolis. So I have high hopes. I have very high hopes.
Very unfortunately, though, it does have to be on Metropolis. So I apologize for that. Because Metropolis is an awful map.
Can everybody control stuffs?
Everybody control it. Oh, yeah. Everybody should be able to control everything.
Ideally. I just kind of want to make sure. Okay, yep. Cool. This is going to work out. Okay, so this might be kind of a new thing here on Amateur Attack. Because like Sleepers and I were saying, we played a ton of these back in Brood War. Especially at LANs. They are the most fun thing ever at LANs. They really are.
Remember when we used to try and play versus AIs? And we just got stomped?
Yes.
Every time.
Yes, I do.
Because they were like excellent, and they had like 3 different armies, and we're sitting here with like 1 Protoss and like half a Zerg. Yep.
Yep, and then there's awkward times when you'd accidentally start with a hatchery, so the Protoss player couldn't build anything anywhere on the map. Oh gosh, so I believe blue team, wherever B is B anywhere? No, unfortunately not. Okay, so I was hoping that blue team or red team, whichever team B's on, I was hoping they would have an SCV to play with, because B actually technically spawned in as Terran. Not going to be the case here though. Production tab you can actually see a little bit on. You can see a little bit on the production tab at least.
Yeah, that's usually the best way for Team Melee though, is when you can have every single race.
Yeah, yeah.
I liked when you started with 6 workers, 2 of each.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would work well. Really cool. And it gets it started a little bit faster too, which in Team Melee you kind of almost want to. Yeah. Because so I mean, otherwise one player can't do anything for like the first 8 or 9 minutes of the game. One thing you'll see a lot in Team Melee is really good micro, because you'll have one player back home. You know, you'll say, okay, you are going to stay back home and you're going to macro build the buildings and you know, to keep the economy going, build my units. This is the composition I want. And then you take those units and you walk out and you have one player solely dedicated to microing. And you know what? I think that's going to favor Pure in this game. Red team, I should say.
The team that has Pure on it, yeah, no, I could definitely agree with that. That being said, what you can also see is the most hilarious miss micros of all time.
Yes, you can. Suddenly half the army is like walking back home. Oh man, I'm remembering too much of this now. Oh, okay. Well, it looks like Pure is moving out with a 3 soccer rush as per usual. So I kind of assume Pure is the one controlling the units over on the red team. And if I were to guess, I would say Kariffi is controlling the units and Zukaman is taking care of the macro, because we can see a lot of probes queued up. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and use that as my reasoning. Also, Kariffi, the higher level player, going to have a lot better micro.
You may want to take this for a little bit. I'm trying to discover whether or not the Trial of the Xel'Naga maps exist on Battle.net.
Alright then. Well, if we look over the spending tab, we can see, well, absolutely nothing because it's too early on in the game. But once again, I just want to kind of keep coming back to this tab because I think it's a really cool feature. Robotics Bay is coming down on the field for our blue team here. Pure almost he's trying to bait this force field up on the ramp. I don't think he's going to be able to get it though. Once again, Kariffi, the one probably controlling these units. And I'm supposed to be Freak Boy says use proper grammar. Just saying. So, Colossus are going to be coming on the field for our blue team. Over on the red team side of things, pretty much the same thing, but I would more expect to see the Warp Prism coming out on the field, that Warp Prism movement speed, and that is what we're seeing. So Pure going to be going for that double immortal drop, just like his 1v1 strategy, because let's be honest, that's pretty much all this is, except once again, I'm not even gonna do that. Once again, Pure just going to be able to have pure micros. That's going to be even more deadly than it usually is. Zealot is down. The sentry has been baited down the ramp, so that could go down. But 2 immortals on the field going to instantly pick off that stalker.
Yeah, gonna go ahead and cheer for the Zealot kill, but those immortals not in any way allowing those stalkers to do any more picking on anything. Something about Colossus, but that's not actually true because it looks like both players are going for immortal drops. Because remember what I said back when we were talking about immortal drops a long time ago? Immortal drops used to be in mid to high masters. It was the idea of, hey, I think my micro is better than yours in combination with my macro. So instead, it's just each player saying, hey, I think my micro is better than yours. Or better than both of yours, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I think once again it could do. Oh my gosh, 2 Warp Prisms on the map right now. 4 Zealots in one, and 2 Immortals in another. These gateways actually, well, I guess there's only one gateway there. The Immortals being dropped down in the middle line, actually getting quite a few probe kills. Going to be able to pick off that. Oh, one Immortal actually getting caught behind a Force Shield. Pure, I'm surprised he's not more on top of this, considering that he once again can just solely control these units. Warp Prism going to pick back up and get out. In the meantime, blue Warp Prism in red base.
Indeed, it is going to go ahead and fly right in with 4 Zealots. Going to go ahead and drop off there. The probes are going to run away. I don't think Zuka's actually doing much of anything this game, unfortunately. But we do see, well, actually not any units at all back home going to be able to defend against these Zealots. So actually a significant amount of probes going down here. As really, there's still not all that much to defend against this. As a lot of things are getting warped in.
Yeah, I would actually say the red team is in a little bit of trouble here. They're not in all that much trouble. Oh, never mind. Sorry. I don't know why. I got colors mixed around in my head. I meant the red team is looking to be alright here, and the blue team is in a little bit of trouble. My colors, apparently I am, like, colorblind or something right now, even though it's red versus blue.
I would say the opposite, actually. I would have said you would right the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though everything's dead.
Which team's red for you?
IEM Pure. The left-hand teams. 9 o'clock team is red.
So you think that the red team is on top or behind?
No, I just meant in that one engagement. I think that they're actually a little bit behind here. Expansion timing actually is a little bit ahead, but blue team just has a better standing army at this point in time. Pure is going to start picking away at the Nexus a little bit. Now, this is a great abuse of this ground here, especially considering Blink not on the field. In fact, not even close to being finished, as the Twilight not even started yet. And this Warp Prism with speed going to be so difficult for, our blue team to catch up with. And I mean, that Warp Prism, it has 200 health. It's not fragile. It's not a paper airplane anymore. And that's going to allow Pure to get this nice micro off between bases.
Ooh, nice. It looks like Fire actually going to be able to focus down the Warp Prism there, not microing nearly as well as he could have. Now these 2 Immortals are pretty much dead. It's going to be depending on how much damage they can do before they die. Focusing down a couple Stalkers here. Really nice focus fire there by the red team, but unfortunately those Immortals are going to go ahead and go down. But they did a significant amount of damage to the blue team's standing army. And I just had a pretty interesting idea, by the way. Coffee.
What's that? What's that, Sleeper?
We should play some Team Melee.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Me and you.
Are you kind of missing it?
Yes.
I am not surprised. Not surprised at all. Extended Thermal Lance finally coming on the field for our blue team. That was a little bit delayed, but I mean, there was no necessary need to get it immediately, as red team wasn't getting it either. I mean, you can actually, as long as your opponent doesn't have Extended Thermal Lance, you technically can get away. It's a way to get an advantage. But if your opponent doesn't have it, you don't have to have it for your engagements. And that's what we're seeing there. Blue team didn't have time to get it. They were too busy defending. Perfectly fine. Cut it out for a little bit. Get some Colossus on the field and defend against those ground units that are going to be pushing your base. Unless your opponent goes Void Rays.
In which case, your opponent's just gonna lose.
Oh,
right?
What? Once again, Void Rays until the late game, Void Rays are pretty worthless. But I feel like
even then,
I don't.
I would prefer to drop and spend the money on a little bit of like Phoenix. I would prefer Phoenix late game PvP.
Phoenix are actually decent against Colossus as well.
I love them because the Void Rays, what you see a lot is you see them getting a little bit more focus fired.
Focus fired. Okay, no,
they
a bit more
don't
focus
give
fired.
you the map control and the map vision that Phoenix do. Because what you can do with Phoenix is you can spread them out and have them pretty much give you full vision and full idea what your opponent's doing. And they can fly in, do a little bit of poking on the mineral line, and still fly back and still be involved in the full engagement.
Right now I'm watching Zugaman's cam just kind of see what he's doing, and he's pretty much the one controlling the scouting right now, getting an eye on how many Colossus there are, did get a nice eye on that expansion, and that's one thing that I forgot, you know, that we can kind of look at is to see what exactly players are doing. It looks like Pure right now taking care of the macro, while B takes care of the macro.
That's a great idea.
Well, okay, I have a better way. Let's try this one again. Just look over at the APM tab. B is literally doing nothing over on the red team side of things.
Not true. He has 9 APM.
He has 9 average APM. That's true. Zukaman actually getting a much bigger share now. He is at least than and B is.
There's a pure spike of APM there, chilling up at the 400 range.
I'm not surprised. He's a very good player.
Like we said, he's the only professional player.
Technically, well, we don't know if Kafires actually won anything. Oh, this third base actually could be in quite a bit of trouble. He might force the cancel. He does force the cancel on this. That was a huge victory for Red Team, as that Nexus was literally seconds away from finishing. So that's going to put Blue Team, I mean, that was going to be a big advantage for Blue Team, and that's gone now. Now Red Team going to be securing the expansion as well.
Well, I do have to say, I really like this spread from our Blue Team. I mean, look at that. That is not something that our red player is ever going to want to engage into. That how many Colossus is that? That is 5-6 Colossus. One of them actually going to go ahead and stand up here on the high ground and engage. Here we go. The blue player actually going to go ahead and not have his full army engaging at the same time, but that's really not going to matter all that much. I feel like there's still just so many more units left for our blue player. A lot of Colossus, pretty much every single Colossus still surviving. A couple Immortals and a handful of Zealots. The army for red is just completely destroyed. So Pure gonna go ahead and GG out. Evidently he had to piece his way on out. As it is a well, as it is game probably, I'd assume at this point. I mean, in PvP, when you lose your full army, that's gonna be GG.
Yeah, especially when you lose your full army and your opponent still has 7 standing Colossus.
Okay, he's cannon rushing.
Oh gosh. Well, there's that game. That's Team Melee for you folks. It's interesting.